First contact under fire. The mining vessel Horizon's Edge drifted through the Kuiper Belt, its massive collection arrays gathering ice and minerals from the ancient rocks that circled the solar system's edge. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, reviewing the day's harvest data when her sensor officer's voice cut through the routine. "Captain, unusual energy signatures detected at the edge of our range. They're not matching anything in our database." Chen moved to the sensor station, her eyes narrowing at the readings. After decades of space exploration, humanity had yet to encounter alien life. But these energy patterns were unlike anything produced by human technology. "Show me," she ordered, and the main screen lit up with a tactical display. Two distinct groups of vessels appeared, one larger ship with erratic power signatures, trailing plasma and debris, pursued by three smaller predatory-looking craft. The larger vessel's trajectory suggested it was trying to reach the relative safety of the solar system. "Those energy weapons," Lieutenant Rivera muttered from his tactical station. "The attackers are using some kind of directed plasma weapons. The larger ship's shields are failing." Chen didn't hesitate. The Horizon's Edge might be a mining vessel, but like all human ships that ventured into deep space, it was well armed. Humanity's philosophy had always been to hope for peace but prepare for war. "Battle stations," she ordered. "Bring up our shields and power up the mass drivers. Plot an intercept course." The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency, despite never having faced actual combat. The Horizon's Edge's engines roared to life, pushing the massive vessel toward the unfolding battle. "Unknown vessels, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel Horizon's Edge." She broadcast on all frequencies. "Cease your attack immediately." The only response was a burst of plasma fire from one of the attacking ships, missing the Horizon's Edge by kilometers, but clearly meant as a warning. "They want to play it that way. Fine." Chen's voice was steel. "Target the nearest attacker. Show them what human engineering can do." The Horizon's Edge's mass drivers spun up, their magnetic fields charging. These weapons were simple by design, accelerating chunks of metal to relativistic speeds. No fancy energy fields or plasma weapons, just raw kinetic force backed by human ingenuity. The first shot streaked across space, catching one of the attacking vessels squarely in its side. Whatever energy shields it possessed meant nothing against the sheer destructive force of a tungsten slug moving at a significant fraction of light speed. The attacker split apart in a spectacular explosion. "Direct hit," Rivera called out. Their shields, they weren't designed to stop kinetic weapons. The remaining attackers broke off their pursuit of the damaged vessel, turning their attention to the Horizon's Edge. But they'd already lost their advantage. The mining vessel's thick armor, designed to withstand impacts from asteroids and space debris, shrugged off their plasma weapons. "Maintaining fire," Chen ordered calmly, "and get medical ready. Something tells me our new friends in the big ship might need help." The battle was brief but decisive. A second attacker fell to the Horizon's Edge's guns, and the third fled into deep space. As the dust settled, Chen ordered her ship alongside the damaged vessel, getting their first clear look at it. The alien ship was a thing of beauty, all graceful curves and crystalline structures, though now much of it was scared and broken. As they watched, a transmission came through, resolving into a holographic image that took everyone on the bridge by surprise. The alien was humanoid, but clearly not human, tall and slender, with iridescent skin and large, expressive eyes. When it spoke, the ship's AI translated. We thank you, Earth vessel. I am First Speaker Lyra of the Lumini. We had no hope of survival until you arrived." Chen stepped forward, maintaining her professional demeanor despite the historic nature of the moment. "You're welcome, First Speaker. We can see you've taken heavy damage. We have medical facilities and engineering teams ready to assist." The alien's eyes widened. "You would help us further, even though we are unknown to you." "Where I come from," Chen replied with a slight smile, "we have a saying. The moment you help someone in need is the moment they stop being a stranger. As emergency teams prepared for their first alien patients, Chen couldn't help but reflect on the irony. Humanity had long prepared for first contact, expecting it might come through war or careful diplomatic mission. Instead, it came because humans chose to do what came naturally to them, protecting those who needed protection. Little did she know, but this moment would mark the beginning of humanity's reputation throughout the galaxy. Not as conquerors or savages, but as defenders, the species that evolved on a harsh world yet chose to use their strength to shield rather than dominate. The Horizon's Edge's medical bay was about to become the site of humanity's first official diplomatic reception, all because a mining captain chose to stand against bullies in the dark between the stars. The gentle ones. The Horizon's Edge's medical bay had never seen such activity. Dr. Maya Patil moved between beds containing her alien patients, still amazed by their physiology. The Lumini were built for a world far gentler than Earth, their bones lighter, their skin more delicate, their organs arranged in fascinating patterns that spoke of evolution under lower gravity and less environmental stress. Their immune systems are remarkably sophisticated, she reported to Captain Chen, who stood beside first speaker Lyra. But they're designed for precision, not resilience. They've never needed to deal with the kind of broad-spectrum threats we face daily on Earth. Lyra nodded, her iridescent skin shifting colors slightly with the movement. Your world. We classified it as a death world. The gravity alone would crush most of my people, yet you move through it with such ease. Chen watched as human medical staff worked alongside the Lumini's own healers, each learning from the other. What we consider normal would kill you, and what you consider advanced technology wouldn't last a day in our environment. I think we have a lot to learn from each other. The first speaker's expression grew grave. The Shadowclaw raiders who attacked us, they've been targeting our colonies for months now. They discovered our weakness, our reliance on sophisticated but delicate technology. Their crude weapons bypass our defenses, and their bioengineered viruses overwhelm our immune systems. Tell me more about these raiders, Chen requested, her tactical mind already working. They evolved on a harsh world, like yours, but took a different path. Where you chose to protect, they chose to dominate. They'd modify themselves with cybernetic enhancements and biological weapons, seeing gentler species as prey. In the following hours, as the Lumini shared their database, a clearer picture emerged. The Lumini Confederation spanned hundreds of star systems, all populated by species that had evolved on worlds with stable environments and gentle conditions. Their technology was incredibly advanced. Zero-point energy, matter manipulation, faster than light travel that made human efforts look primitive. But they had never needed to build for resilience. Their ships, while advanced, couldn't handle the stress of prolonged combat. Their weapons, though powerful, were easily disrupted by the raiders' crude but effective countermeasures. We focused on rising above violence, Lyra explained as she showed Chen holographic maps of their territory. Our societies are built on cooperation, art, scientific advancement. We thought we had moved beyond the need for weapons and defenses. Lieutenant Rivera, who had joined them, studied the tactical displays with professional interest. Your ships are amazing, but they're like thoroughbred racing horses, all speed and grace, no armor. Our ships are more like tanks, not pretty, but they get the job done. The raiders struck at the perfect time, Lyra continued. Just as we were expanding into new regions of space, we've lost contact with several colony worlds already. Millions of our people. Her voice trailed off. Chen placed a hand on the alien leader's shoulder, careful with her earthborn strength. How many colonies are still in danger? At least 12 major settlements, each with populations in the millions. But you don't understand. The raiders are building up for something bigger. Our intelligence suggests they're planning to strike at our core worlds. Billions could die. The captain's expression hardened. She keyed her comlink. Bridge, get me a channel to Earth Command. Priority 1. When the connection was established, Chen spoke with the authority of someone who knew they were making history. "Command, this is Captain Chen. We've made first contact with an advanced alien civilization, the Lumini Confederation. They're under attack by hostile forces targeting civilian populations, requesting permission to render humanitarian assistance and military support." There was a long pause before the response came. "Captain, are you suggesting we involve ourselves in an alien war?" "No, sir. I'm suggesting we do what humans have always done best. Protect those who cannot protect themselves. The Lumini have technology we can barely comprehend, but they lack our physical resilience and combat experience. Together, we might be able to save billions of lives." Another pause, longer this time. "Then, you realize this could change everything. Our entire civilization's trajectory." Chen looked at Lyra, seeing in the alien's eyes both hope and fear, emotions that transcended species. "Sir, I believe everything changed the moment we chose to fire our first shot in defense of strangers. We can't go back to pretending we're alone in the universe. We can only decide what kind of galactic civilization we want to be." The response, when it came, was firm. "Very well, Captain. Return to Earth with our new allies. We'll need to coordinate a response at the highest levels." As the communication ended, Lyra turned to Chen. "Your people, you're nothing like what we expected Deathworlders to be. We thought you would be savages, brutes." Chen smiled. "We can be when we need to be. But we prefer to be builders, protectors. We just happen to evolve on a world that taught us how to fight for what matters." She paused, looking out at the stars. "And right now, what matters is making sure those raiders learn a very important lesson about picking on peaceful civilizations." As the Horizon's Edge set course for Earth, carrying its precious cargo of new allies and new possibilities, humanity stood on the brink of a transformation. They were about to become something they had never imagined, the shield that protected galactic civilization from those who would prey upon the gentle. Operation Safe Haven. Admiral Marcus Rodriguez stood in Earth's Combined Defense Command Center, surrounded by holographic displays showing fleet movements across hundreds of light years. Around him, human military officers worked alongside Lumini coordinators, merging their different approaches to warfare into something entirely new. The raiders have hit 3 more colony worlds in the past week. A Lumini tactical officer reported, her translucent fingers dancing through the holographic interface. But this time, they found something unexpected waiting for them. Rodriguez allowed himself a grim smile. The first phase of Operation Safe Haven was already showing results. Earth had deployed its newest battle fleet, ships that looked primitive by Lumini standards, but were built to withstand punishment that would tear their allies' vessels apart. "Show me the Centauri engagement," he ordered. The main display shifted to show footage from the latest battle. A group of raider vessels, their biomechanical hulls bristling with weapons, had descended on what they thought was an unprotected Lumini colony. Instead, they found the Earth Defense Force's 7th Fleet waiting in ambush. The raiders' energy weapons flared against human shields, designed specifically to handle a kind of punishment Earth ships routinely faced from solar flares and cosmic radiation. But when the human vessels returned fire, their kinetic weapons, simple railguns accelerating metal to relativistic speeds, torn through the raiders' sophisticated defenses like they weren't even there. They never expected physical projectiles. Lieutenant Commander Yuki Tanaka commented from her station. Their whole strategy is based on overwhelming advanced energy shields and disrupting complex targeting systems. But you can't hack a chunk of tungsten moving at relativistic speed. "How are the evacuation operations proceeding?" Rodriguez asked, turning to another display. "Better than expected," responded Dr. Elena Santos, their chief xenobiologist. "We've successfully relocated over 12 million Lumini civilians to safe zones. The environmental adaptation systems are working perfectly. We can now simulate their home-world conditions in our orbital habitats." The Admiral nodded, remembering the first weeks after first contact. Earth's scientists had worked around the clock to create safe spaces for their new allies, learning to accommodate beings who could barely survive under Earth's gravity. At the same time, Lumini engineers had helped upgrade human ships with their advanced FTL drives and sensor systems. "Admiral," a communications officer called out, "incoming priority message from the Artemis battle group." The display shifted to show Captain Sarah Chen, now promoted to fleet commander after her historic first contact. The Artemis group had been tasked with protecting the furthest Lumini colonies, the ones most vulnerable to raider attacks. "Sir, we've decoded their attack pattern," Chen reported, her expression intense. "The raiders aren't just hitting random targets. They're systematically isolating specific colony clusters, hurting civilian populations. We think they're planning something big." Rodriguez studied the tactical overlay, Chen transmitted. The pattern was clear once you knew what to look for. The raiders were creating a trap, forcing millions of Lumini into increasingly concentrated areas. "They're preparing for a harvest." First speaker Lyra spoke up from where she had been quietly observing. "This is how they operate. They don't just want to destroy us. They want to capture our people. Our scientists, our children. They see us as resources to be exploited." The Admiral's expression hardened. He'd seen enough of history to recognize genocide in the making. "Not on our watch. Captain Chen, coordinate with the 3rd and 5th Fleets. I want a defensive screen around every remaining Lumini settlement. Nothing gets through." "Sir," Chen replied, "the raiders outnumber us significantly, even with our technological advantages." "Then we'll change the rules," Rodriguez interrupted. "Work with our Lumini allies. Their ships might not be able to take a hit like ours can, but their sensor technology is decades ahead of ours. Let them be our eyes while we be their shields." As the command center hummed with activity, Rodriguez watched the tactical display update with new fleet positions. Human vessels moved into defensive formations around Lumini worlds, their thick armor and powerful weapons ready to repel any attack. Meanwhile, Lumini sensor ships darted between them, their advanced detection systems ensuring no raider vessel could approach unseen. "They called us Deathworlders," Rodriguez mused to Lyra. "They meant it as a warning label, a reason to stay away. But maybe that's exactly what the galaxy needed. People who learned to be strong by surviving a harsh world, so we could protect those who never had to." Lyra's skin shimmered with emotion. "When we first detected your world, we saw only the danger, the gravity, the weather, the aggressive evolutionary pressures that shaped your species. We never considered that such conditions might forge not just strength, but wisdom in how to use it." A new alert flashed across the tactical display. Multiple raider fleets were on the move, converging on different sectors. The great trap was about to be sprung. But this time, humanity stood ready to meet it. "All fleets, battle stations," Rodriguez commanded, his voice carrying to ships across hundreds of light years. "Remember your training and remember why we're here. We're not just fighting for our new allies. We're fighting for the right of peaceful civilizations to exist without fear." As klaxons sounded across 1,000 human vessels, crews moved to their posts with practiced efficiency. They had trained for this, prepared for this, evolved for this. The raiders were about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating Deathworlders who chose to be protectors. The breaking storm. The raider fleet emerged from hyperspace like a swarm of metal locusts, their biomechanical ships casting strange shadows against the stars. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the EDF Artemis, watching as the enemy vessels took up attack positions around the Lumini colony world of New Haven. 500+ hostile contacts, her tactical officer reported. Their energy signatures are off the charts. They've modified their weapons. Chen nodded grimly. The raiders had been learning, adapting their tactics after each engagement with human forces. But so had humanity. Status of the defense grid. All human vessels in position. Lumini sensor platforms are active and synchronized with our targeting systems. Ground-based shield generators at full power. The colony below housed over 3 million Lumini civilians, scientists, artists, families who had flowed from worlds already lost to the raiders. Chen had no intention of losing this one. "The raiders are broadcasting," her communications officer announced. "System-wide." "Let's hear it." A harsh, modulated voice filled the bridge. "Attention, human vessels. You defend a species that has no right to exist. The weak must make way for the strong. This is the law of evolution. Stand aside, and we will spare your worlds." Chen's response was immediate. "This is Captain Chen of the Earth Defense Force. Here's a biology lesson for you. Evolution isn't just about being strong. It's about adaptation, cooperation, finding new ways to survive. Today, you're going to learn about something that evolved on Earth called symbiosis." She cut the transmission and turned to her crew. "All ships, execute Operation Thunderbolt." The human fleet split into predetermined groups, each moving to protect key strategic points around the colony. But instead of taking up static defensive positions, they began a complex dance choreographed by Lumini scientists and human tacticians. The raiders struck first, their energy weapons lighting up space with deadly beauty. But where before they had faced either fragile Lumini ships or standalone human vessels, now they encountered something new. Lumini sensor ships, previously considered too delicate for combat, darted through the battlefield. Their advanced detection systems tracked every raider movement, every weapon's discharge, feeding data directly to human gunners through newly developed interfaces. Human vessels, their thick armor ablaze with enemy fire, executed maneuvers that would have torn apart more delicate ships. Multiple hostile contacts, bearing 035, called out tactical. "They're trying to split our formation." "Let them try," Chen responded. "Activate the gravity nets." This was the product of human and Lumini cooperation. Lumini gravity manipulation technology combined with human durability. Massive gravitational fields sprang up across predetermined areas of space, catching raider ships in their grip. The enemy vessels, for all their biological and mechanical adaptations, couldn't break free. "They're trapped," Chen's first officer reported, moving into firing positions. The human fleet's rail guns spoke as one. Their simple but devastating projectiles accelerated to speeds that made them nearly impossible to dodge. Caught in the gravity nets, the raiders couldn't evade. Dozens of their ships died in the first volley. But the raiders hadn't become the scourge of the galaxy by being easy to defeat. Their surviving ships began releasing clouds of bioengineered organisms, viral swarms that could eat through hull plating and disable electrical systems. "Bioweapon attack incoming," Tactical announced. "But our countermeasures are ready." This had been Dr. Patel's contribution, studying how Earth's extremophile bacteria could be adapted to space warfare. The human ships released clouds of engineered microorganisms based on bacteria found in Earth's most hostile environments. The two biological weapons met in space, and the raiders' carefully designed viral swarms found themselves facing organisms that had evolved under far harsher conditions. "Their bioweapons are being neutralized," reported Science Station. "Earth life forms are proving more resilient." The battle raged for hours, a testament to both sides' determination. The raiders threw everything they had at the human Lumini defense line. Plasma weapons, quantum disruptors, gravity bombs. But for each attack, the defenders had an answer born from their unlikely partnership. Lumini shields, previously vulnerable to the raiders' weapons, now held firm thanks to human-designed reinforcement. Human targeting systems, once considered primitive, achieved unprecedented accuracy guided by Lumini sensors. What had begun as a desperate alliance had become something more. Two species covering each other's weaknesses, multiplying each other's strengths. "Their formation is breaking," Tactical announced as the battle entered its final phase. Multiple ships attempting emergency jumps. Chen watched as the mighty raider fleet, which had terrorized peaceful civilizations across dozens of systems, began to retreat in disarray. But she wasn't finished yet. "All ships, execute Pursuit Plan Delta. Don't let them regroup. And send word to Admiral Rodriguez. We're ready for the final phase. As the human fleet moved to chase down the retreating raiders, Chen received a transmission from the colony below. The holographic image showed thousands of Lumini gathered in their central plaza, watching the battle through massive view screens. Their bioluminescent skin glowed with hope, something many of them hadn't felt since the raiders first appeared. Perhaps, Chen thought, this is what humanity had been preparing for all along. Their harsh world hadn't just made them strong. It had taught them how to use that strength to protect others. The raiders had thought themselves the ultimate expression of evolutionary success, but they were about to learn that true strength came not from dominating the weak, but from helping them become strong. Guardians of the Stars. 3 months after the Battle of New Haven, the Great Hall of the Lumini High Council gleamed with crystalline light. Representatives from 100 worlds gathered to witness something unprecedented: the formal alliance between the Lumini Confederation and Earth. Admiral Rodriguez stood beside Captain Chen, both in their dress uniforms, as First Speaker Lyra addressed the assembled delegates. Behind them, a massive hologram showed the ongoing cleanup operations, human and Lumini ships working together to clear debris from dozens of battlefields. For too long, Lyra's voice carried across the chamber. We viewed the existence of Deathworld species as a threat to galactic peace. We saw their strength as something to fear, their resilience as something to avoid. We were wrong. The hologram shifted to show footage from the various battles. Human ships taking hits that would have destroyed Lumini vessels, protecting refugee convoys, coordinating with Lumini sensor platforms to track and eliminate raider forces. The humans taught us something profound. Lyra continued. True strength isn't about domination. It's about protection. Their harsh world didn't make them cruel. It prepared them to be guardians. Rodriguez remembered the final battle against the raiders' main fleet. After their defeat at New Haven, the raiders had gathered their remaining forces for one desperate assault on the Lumini homeworld. They had expected to face a weakened enemy. Instead, they found the combined might of 2 civilizations waiting for them. The battle had been decisive. Human ships, their hulls reinforced with Lumini technology, had torn through the raider fleet. Lumini sensor platforms, protected by human escorts, had tracked and eliminated every attempt at surprise attacks. The raiders' biological weapons, once so feared, proved useless against defenses designed by human and Lumini scientists working together. The galaxy is changing, Lyra announced. The age of isolation is over. Today we formalize not just an alliance, but a new understanding of our place in the cosmos. Captain Chen stepped forward when called, representing the Earth Defense Force. She couldn't help but think back to that first encounter with the Lumini ship, how a simple decision to protect the vulnerable had led to this moment. The Treaty of New Haven, Lyra proclaimed, establishes Earth as a formal protector of the Lumini Confederation. In return, we will share our technological and scientific knowledge, helping humanity reach its full potential among the stars. The terms had been carefully negotiated. Human ships would help patrol Lumini space, their crew's natural resilience making them perfect for long-range operations. Lumini scientists would help upgrade Earth's infrastructure, their advanced technology allowing humanity to solve many of its environmental and resource challenges. But more importantly, the treaty established a new principle in galactic law: the right of peaceful species to exist without fear, and the duty of stronger species to protect rather than exploit them. We're establishing joint training facilities, Rodriguez explained to the Council, teaching Lumini crews how to handle combat situations while learning from them about advanced technologies. Together, we're stronger than either of us alone. The aftermath of the Raider War had proved this. The surviving raiders, their fleet broken and their leadership in chaos, had fled to the galaxy's outer reaches, but they left behind valuable lessons about the importance of strength tempered by wisdom. Dr. Patel, who had done so much to help the Lumini adapt to their new circumstances, presented the medical aspects of the alliance. We're already seeing remarkable developments. Lumini genetic engineering is helping us cure diseases that have plagued humanity for centuries. Meanwhile, Our experience with harsh environments is helping them develop more resilient systems. As the ceremony concluded, Chen found herself looking out at the assembled delegates. Among them were representatives from other peaceful species who had suffered under raider attacks. Many were already discussing similar protection agreements with Earth. "We're going to need a bigger fleet," she mentioned to Rodriguez. The Admiral smiled. "Already in progress. The Lumini are helping us establish shipyards using their zero-point energy technology. But the ships are being built to human specifications, tough, reliable, and able to take a beating." First Speaker Lyra joined them, her skin shimmering with what they had learned was happiness. "My ancestors would never have believed this possible, an alliance between Deathworlders and the Gentle Ones. But perhaps this is exactly what the galaxy needed." Chen watched as human and Lumini crews mingled in the hall, sharing stories and experiences. Engineers discussed combining their technologies, scientists explored new possibilities, and warriors learned from each other's strengths. "You know," she said, "when we first started exploring space, we always wondered what our role in the galaxy would be. Would we be conquerors, traders, diplomats? And instead," Rodriguez finished, "we found our calling as protectors, the shield that guards the gentle worlds." As the celebration continued, news arrived from Earth. More volunteers were signing up for the Defense Force than ever before. Humanity had found its purpose among the stars, not in conquest or domination, but in using their strength to protect those who needed protection. The Deathworlders had become guardians, and the galaxy was better for it.